Hello and welcome back to You Up for More. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I'm Jared Freed. It is so good to be back here with you, Jordana. This is a recap of episodes 10 and 11 of Love is Blind Season 8. We are in Minneapolis. We have all the couples. We're going to go through them all. And if you haven't gotten this far, go back to our other recap videos. We've recapped the whole season. We do it in chunks. We did episode 1 through 6, 7, 8, 9, and now this is 10 and 11. So, Jordana, what do we think top line of these episodes, this group? This is kind of when we get the goods a little bit.
I feel like at this point, it's like you put in the work for the first few episodes. Now you get the good stuff.
Right.
Now we're all going to hate Dave.
Yes. We finally get to see Dave be the man we always thought he was going to be. This is the payoff. This is where we get to go, oh, will the marriage happen? And also the people who, I guess if you could say, like, if anyone was a poser, this is the episodes they get smoked out.
Yes. But I mean, here's the thing. We're going to talk a lot of shit about Dave. Don't worry. We're going to get in there.
We'll get there.
But we did need him this season. He's really pulling the drama. He's taking one for the team. Without him, there really is not much else to get into at this point.
It is funny, though, because Dave is the drama.
Yeah.
Dave is doing something that's very relatable to all sides of dating. So he's going to be talked about to no ends because everyone's dated a Dave. Everyone's dated a Dave, and everyone has been Dave a little bit when they've tried to get out of something, wiggle their way
to some
out
extent,
while also being the good guy, the good girl, the person that didn't do anything wrong. This is just ending because we just didn't work out. There were all these extenuating circumstances. My sister.
Oh my God! I mean,
it's enough about the sister.
Seriously, I mean, if I were the sister, I mean, should we wait and get into it later, or should we just talk about him right off the bat?
Let's talk about Dave and Lauren, just because, I mean, to me, it was Groundhog's Day. They're having the same discussion
over and over.
Because
he's like, how many times do I have to say this before you break up with me? Like, what is going, like, do you have any self-esteem? How much, that almost is what it felt like. I'm like, he was almost saying, like, how many times do I have to let you know without breaking up with you that, like, that I'm a toxic person? Like, how much do I have to tell you? Or like, you're going to make me end this?
It's almost like...
Have you seen me?
Right. He's sitting there the whole time, and she's like, are you ready to go? And he's like, it's raining.
Oh, my God. And you dated that guy. Also, if I were his sister watching the show, I would be so mad at him. I'd be like, you made me seem like an asshole.
She takes all of the bullets, so to speak.
On his behalf, yes.
Right. She is... Honestly, I'm at the point where Dave's sister might not exist.
I mean, it's possible. He didn't give her when Lauren says he didn't even give her the letter.
Right.
I'm like, maybe she doesn't exist.
I actually think the sister might be just a device. Like
that's why she's not on the show. Because if she came on the show, she might be like, well, I didn't tell him that.
Well, it is what Dave represents. Dave is the person you're dating who's talking like they're working on it, but is not working on it at all.
Or is actually he's working on trying to figure out how to get out.
Right.
That's the only thing he's working on.
And Lauren is so honest and also delusional.
Right.
So we have to I'm not to blame the victim here, but
yeah, well, I mean, we're all screaming at her through the TV. Right. Lauren, like, come on. Do you see what's going on?
But even we're repeating ourselves. We've had this discussion about Dave and Lauren every recap. Every recap, it's the same story. My friends are so mad. My sister, she can't handle this.
Almost
Lauren being like, oh, no, but we can work through it. If we just do this together, we could be a happy couple. And it's like, Lauren, you aren't talking about the same thing.
It's starting to get almost funny because he's like, I can't just introduce my friends and my sister to just any. You think I would introduce my sister to someone who's had sex with someone besides me?
Right.
Like, you think my sister has all the time in the world to meet every woman who's had sex with someone besides me? Like, it's just like the way he was describing it, everything he was saying just made him sound douchier and douchier and douchier.
It is crazy that he thinks he's smarter than the audience. He thinks he's smarter than...
He tries to blame her dad. Like, fuck off.
The dad.
Oh my God. He's like, your dad is bringing up issues with us. It's like, yeah, because you haven't introduced me to a single person you know.
You have issues. We have issues. We have official issues. I know I've tried to bring you into my life and you have made no effort to bring me into yours. And, you know, if Lauren was a better sparrer, like she's a bad opponent for him. She's kind of an easy opponent.
She's not giving. Yeah, I agree. She's a bad opponent for him because she's letting himself keep digging the hole. Mm-hmm. And she's not fighting back so as to like, he can't even get into a raging fight with her. He always has to look like the asshole because she's not fighting with him.
Right. There's no way out. There's no like, and that happens with a breakup.
He's baiting her. He just keeps baiting her and over and over and over again.
Usually someone goes, well, then what are we going to do? And he's like, I don't know.
She won't do that.
She'll never do that.
Yeah.
She'll never get to the point. That's very
good for
funny.
her. I'm actually impressed with it.
Well, that's why she's got her own dating issues. It took them bowling, you know, to like have this conversation.
Even when he goes, he's out till 3 a.m. He doesn't speak to her. And then she's like, oh, and was Molly there? And he goes, yeah. And I said, I don't want to see Molly. And then he just like leaves the bar and doesn't text her and doesn't speak to her into the next day. He wakes up at 1 p.m. and texts her the next day.
Lauren never asks a single question that would make this end.
She's like a mob wife.
Right. So she's like, oh, I guess you were just out with your mistress. And
I was out with your friends after our huge fight until 3 a.m.
That's what
in the same bar as everyone else, as the girl used to date.
Even though bars don't close at 1 and 2 o'clock. Like, you know, so they finally break up at the 10-year-old birthday party, bowling party. And
yes.
And then
well, he's at this point he's done everything in his power.
Right.
To get her to break up with him. And then he's like, maybe I'll try this thing with her dad. Give it one last effort. I'll insult her dad.
Right.
I'll get mad at her dad and I'll make it seem like the dad is the reason that this is ending.
He finds, you know, the pressure point to get out of
right.
it. You know, so.
Well, she's like, I've got to meet someone. Right. And I think that's really the point where it comes to be. And then like you said he thinks he's a celebrity, which is really how he's acting. He's like, and he says, my sister said that she'll allow me to go on the show, but she wasn't cool with me getting engaged. And at first I didn't want to be told what to do. I hope she's got to come to the reunion.
Works all the time, has a lot of opinions, won't let him find love. Like,
the sister is like the voice on Dave's. I agree. She's just a voice in the back of Dave's head that's screaming, "Get out of here!"
Right. And
if she exists at all,
if she exists, so then we go to this like big hangout with everyone, and that's where like Dave is reintroduced to Molly and reintroduced to Lauren. Like they all come together.
And Molly's got Lauren's back. She's very much like, you know, she tells Lauren that. That night that he went out with his friends, that he went out till 3 a.m. There was a girl that was all over him, and they kind of just pushed past it because it doesn't really matter at this point because they've already broken up. So it would have been a big deal, I think, if there was discussion while they were. It
kind of shows how close everyone is. Like this whole thing of like Dave's whole celebrity thing, is way.
And also how much Lauren is willing to overlook. She didn't even really ask about that. She had bigger problems.
Right. But I think the Dave thing, we have to give credibility to it, this like insular nature of the Minneapolis area, where he's single, a little bit older than most single people. He's a man about town in some sort of way, enough where he's
big man on campus. Is that what they used to call it?
The BMOC. Yes. And he in enough of a way for Molly to just see him out with a girl all over him.
Right.
Like he has access to that, you know? So his whole thing with like, you know, the eyes that will be on us. There are eyes on them because everyone knows who's casting the show. Everyone knows who's the players in this. But he cares about it in a way that means he wants to fuck other women in the future.
Yes.
He's worried.
That's the extent that he cares about it for.
I think that shows when Molly says there's another woman that was all over him at the bar. It kind of shows what he was worried about. He wasn't worried about the friend's judgment. He wasn't worried about his sister and her Christian ways and all her rules. He was worried about everyone will know that I'm actually engaged and I can't be as flirty as I am used to being.
Which makes him like a supervillain, in my opinion. Yeah. And then he pulls one last infuriating move. And I'm sure we won't see him again now until the reunion. But at the group gathering, he and Lauren are avoiding each other like the entire night. And then he gets drunk enough to approach her. And you could tell he's drunk, I think, by the time he's speaking to her. And they've broken up yesterday.
Yeah.
And she says to him, like, I was so upset, and I didn't, and he says to her, I was so upset, I really like miss you. I really like, I do love you, and I feel all this stuff towards you, and I wanted to speak to you. And she's like, but you didn't text me. And he goes, well, you didn't text me. And she goes, but why would I've been the one who's trying to make this work this entire time.
Right.
And then you ended it with me. Like, why would I text you? And he goes, that's what I'm saying. Like, I should have texted you. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You just said, why didn't you text me? He's like trying to turn he's trying to twist everything that is being said into making himself seem like the victim.
The bad guy, right? Always the victim.
Yeah.
It's always the friends looking on, the sister is going to judge me, and you should have just gotten in touch with me, and why wouldn't I?
And he
you
almost
got a phone. It's always like this land of morality that like...
He's almost throwing out like the bone of like maybe we could get back together because he knows that he's fucked her so much that at this point she couldn't do it. It would be too embarrassing. And she's like, I don't think so. And then he finally gets the rejection, which he's been working for this whole season, where she wouldn't get back together with him the next day after he broke up with her when he's not saying anything different.
It would have been funny if like after he gets the rejection he wanted, he just like turns and like, yes! Right? Like,
finally, we got it on camera.
Right, finally, I'm the
I've
good
been
guy.
dumped.
Yeah.
Can I read you guys some direct quotes from Dave?
Please.
In this post-breakup chat. He looks at Lauren and says, you're everything I ever dreamt of. Goes on to say that he can't picture anyone better than her, and that she was always his number one priority.
Yeah, this is the pump-up speech before you let them go and be alone. We see this in breakups all the time. Dave is classic douchebag. Like, nothing, it is so, that's the
I actually think he's like a level worse than classic because he goes so hard at making her seem like she's done something wrong, which is the part that's really sad to me because he's clearly going great lengths to make her feel horrible about having dated this guy. And he's basically saying, that's the reason we can't be together. That's the reason I can't introduce you to anyone. You're tainted. You're basically, I think, slut-shaming her.
Yes.
By saying, because you slept with this guy before you came on this show, you're not good enough to meet my family. You're not good enough to meet my sister.
Right.
She's, someone who is worthy of meeting my sister wouldn't do that.
It's true evil in the sense that there is another option. The other option is, hey, this isn't the match for me.
Right,
like,
just say that.
Like really a simple way to go.
Which might get him some hate, but not as much as he's going to get.
Well, he thinks, again, this is why he's so enraging. And I do think he's classic in the sense that, like, I've heard all these lines before. Like, he thinks he is smarter than the average bear.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that drives me crazy. It's like, dude, these are all like old tropes. Like, this is Mario Brothers. We've done this before. I've done everything you've done. Like, what do you think? You're going to fool this woman and millions of people at home? Like,
it's insulting to our collective intelligence.
I'm insulted as a douchebag.
It's insulting to douchebags everywhere.
Right. Every guy watching this show with his girlfriend or wife on the couch is going to watch Dave and go, no surprises are told.
And he also just picked the wrong girl to try it with. It's so funny how many, like, when he tells this to everyone, he's like, my sister's big fear is that I come on the show and I'm with someone who just wants to be famous and is just looking for clout. And everyone's like, even Lauren's own mother is like, have you met Lauren? She is the most boring, unreality TV,
But that's not even like the important part. Then have your sister meet her.
Right.
Like this
and she'll know. Read her letter that she gave you to give to her.
Right. Let's read the letter. Let's have them meet. Let's have them get together. And we'll watch the interaction. We'll see how tough your sister is. But she's the fucking Wizard
Alleged
of Oz.
sister.
She's the boogeyman.
Yeah.
She doesn't exist.
So do these friends. These protective
They're
friends.
all the boogeyman. This is all to scare her away and to make her, again, to shame her, to slut-shame her in a way.
Yeah.
That all these people, all these nuns he hangs out with.
Right.
They
can't
imagine she'd ever have a situationship before going on a dating show to find her husband. That's when you go on a dating show.
Exactly.
You go, I got to get away from all these, these toxic people in my life. And then she ran right into the most toxic guy on the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's her dating issue.
That's her, yeah, right. Yeah. And her problem is, Lauren should be a listener of this podcast. Like, she is.
Thank you for listening. If you're listening, Lauren.
If you're listening, thank you. Yeah, we'll have you on. I would
love to have Lauren on
because Lauren's issues are like, she needs to be a better buyer. She needs to go through the little pinch of pain to get through these things quicker.
She needs to see the red flags quicker, right?
But even she avoids questions she should be asking at every turn. She always finds the way out that is like a longer way that's going to be harder.
Yeah.
She takes that way as opposed to the short, like...
She does what a lot of women do, which is like, this is better than being alone.
Right.
I'd rather deal with you and feel stressed out all the time about whether or not you like me, about whether or not this is a thing, than have to be alone with my own thoughts by myself and pretend and have nothing.
This is also the pressure women put on each other too. And I do think this has to do with Minneapolis. I keep coming back to this area because I think in this area where it's insular, everyone from high school, everyone knows each other, everyone knows each other's names, everyone knows everyone's situation. There's a feeling of judgment, but no one really cares.
Right.
And I think like at the brunch table, if you're single, you're like a loser. And if you're married, you're winning. You got the ring. You did it. And I'm not agreeing with that.
Well, that's why she's like, I'll marry this guy who's shown me that he's a complete douchebag throughout every step of this process.
Right. So that's her biggest problem is she's rather be stressed about someone than have no one to be stressed out about.
Right. You have to give up pretty bad for the chance at really good.
Right. So let's go to the other couples now that we've gone through the major Thanos of this season. We'll start with Taylor and Daniel. They go mini golf date. They go tubing. They continue their absurd obsession with Christmas.
The worst thing someone could do before saying no at the altar would be to make a Christmas card. It's probably March because they were talking about it being Valentine's Day on the pod.
Okay,
so it's probably March. It's 9 months before Christmas. They're making a Christmas card. They bring in a tree. They bring in the decorations. I'm like, they must get married or Daniel would have to be the worst man that was ever on television.
Right. If we find out
if I make a Christmas card with you, you're going to die in my arms.
Absolutely. And if it would have to be that Daniel gets to the altar and goes and literally gives her the Christmas card that says we're broken up, and then we find out his sister's not blind.
Yes.
Like that's how evil he
he would have to be evil on that scale to not go through with it after doing this.
Right. To me,
gesture.
this couple kind of like got put in a drawer, married, done, we're good.
Really had hopes for them that they were going to be more dramatic with that Instagram follow, and it was really just a flash in the pan.
He ended up being the best guy ever.
I know.
And I think also like because that Christmas card thing was such a thing for him, to include her in it, it's like that's engaged to be engaged. That's like
that's what I'm saying.
There, right?
They're married already.
So now we have Joey and Monica, our golden retriever couple.
Yes.
Monica's sister does an engagement photo shoot with Joey and Monica, and
she's still really annoying. She still makes it all about herself.
Right. She stinks, but she does apologize.
Yes.
So you got to give her credit there, and they go on a pickleball date. But I think the main thing was like cleaning up the sister storyline. That's cleaned up. That's done. That's in the rearview mirror. Obviously, that's a sister. You're going to have to like deal with at Thanksgiving. But we don't get to watch that, so we just get to see it.
Right. Well, they were like, listen, if we promote your photography business on air, will you like shut the fuck up?
Right. Right. Will you put this whole age thing and who gets married first thing aside?
Right. Help us help you.
Right.
Yes.
So then we have Devin and Virginia. Devin and Virginia quietly becomes a storyline that like I do think will get a lot of social discourse.
Because they get into politics.
They also get into
and
like...
It's so funny. No one raises their voice at all. It's like the most calm conversation with two people saying extremely opposing things. You're like not sure if it's contentious. It sounds like it's not, but it should be.
It's not. It's like, it's almost like he's... And I would be curious to see if they get married. Like I do think... I liked watching Devin because it seems like he has to go through like the 7 levels of are you a modern man? Like every test he has is like a very difficult like conundrum.
He gets thrown a lot of 2025 things.
Everything.
He gets the prenup. Politics.
Dating someone who's bi.
Yeah. Can he swat them all away? Or will he,
abortion issues, religion,
Right.
and I feel for him because I
mean, they are important conversations.
They're important, but I don't agree with his stance on things, but it does seem like he's open to listening.
It did a little bit. It seems like he's a little immature, even though not immature in the way that Nick from last season was, but immature in a different way, in a way of he does things because that's just how he's been told they were done, and he's never really fully thought things through.
I do think that's most people, though.
It might be.
I think that's the hardest thing about
But he's being faced with someone who's asking him to engage in conversations about it, and instead he doesn't seem like he's really trying to go there.
I know, but I don't think he's dealt with people outside his worldviews as much.
Right, but I'm saying now he's being faced.
But I'm saying,
right.
if you're sitting with someone,
but that's mature. Some part of maturity is being around people with different worldviews.
Totally, but I think it's a mind-bending experience to get brought up your whole life a certain way,
right?
And then your friends are all kind of within a standard deviation of you, and then you meet this beautiful woman who's successful, who you're hearing personalized experiences from, and then you actually have to make these decisions that you've only heard about in hypothetical situations.
Right.
He's heard about abortion hypothetically. He's heard about, a prenup. He's never made these decisions before. And when people are
right, but that's why I'm saying he seems young. He seems young.
Right. But I think even for an old person, you meet old people all the time that have been around people that they've agreed with their whole lives.
No,
I think this is I think this is a very humanizing thing to watch.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing necessarily anything wrong.
Right.
But you do see a little bit of this when you see the conversation. They're lying in bed and she and Virginia are having this conversation. She brings up politics. She's like, by the way, this scene could be edited down a little bit. There was a lot of long pauses, a lot of repeating and a lot of long pauses.
Yeah.
But they're in bed and they're talking about, they're both is there anything you feel like we haven't talked about yet? And Virginia's well, we haven't really talked about politics.
It's obviously on her mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she says, I thought she gave a very nice, measured, thought process on, she doesn't mind if someone's thinking about things differently, but this is how she thinks of things. And some of the values inherent in voting liberally are important to her. Mm-hmm. And then she wants to talk about these. She's one of the important issues to me is abortion. Mm-hmm. And then I don't really feel like giving her much in this conversation. He's well, when I grew up, everyone's vote's pretty conservative. But
right.
He's not really talking about what he really thinks. He's sort of deferring to these.
I kind of felt the way he was talking, I don't think he'd ever said
that's what I'm saying.
Out loud. I think he's unpracticed. Immature is a way to look at it, but also it didn't seem like there was I just know we see this with a lot of the men.
And she wasn't saying angry or yelling.
No.
She was
I thought the discussion was good. I actually that. That's why I called it humanizing. So much of this is screamed from one side to the other, and these are two people that
right.
like each other.
Right.
He's probably dealing.
He didn't have a fleshed out real opinion on this. Clearly,
and he's probably never been asked for one, and he's probably that's what my family does. I love the church, and this is how we do. And,
right. It's easier to just do.
Just go along.
Yeah.
People are cruise ships. They're not speedboats. This is a lot of change.
No, it's true, but it is funny where he's well, what if we wanted to vote differently? He wouldn't say that he would. He was
right.
just hypothetically speaking, let's say I didn't vote, for abortion. She's well, I think that would be an issue. But they're both saying it so calmly.
So calm. It's so funny. A lot of this show, you see how simple the men are.
Right. He seems kind but simple.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the men on this season feel that way.
Right.
It's all very simple. These discussions are not happening with their friends. There's no debates happening at the fantasy football draft.
Right.
When men hang out, it's ball busting and laughing and making fun of each other and games and sports and who won and who sucks and who's awesome and who's whatever. I don't think these are I think these are very
right.
new to a lot of these guys. And I was just I felt for Devin, but I also was like, man, this is a lot. Like, again, and then he gets served with a prenup, and you got to go, like, now he's got to deal with, like...
I thought she presented that to him nicely, too. Like,
totally
look
nice,
it over.
but there's a manhood element to that, and there's, I got to show
And it's so funny where he's like, I'm going to look this over. Like he's going to have any fucking idea what he's looking at.
Right, you're going
to... Let me redline this for you,
Right. He's not going to look at it. He's going to pull it out. It's going to be crumbled in his pocket at the wedding. She's going to go, have you looked at it? He's like... Well, I kind of looked at it and it was just be like folded the same way he folded it right in front of her.
He's saying when he receives it, like what he thinks he's supposed to say. Like, I'm going to review this.
Right.
Like,
that's why I feel for him. Like there's so many things he's like.
Well, that's why I'm like, he might not be ready to get married, not to her, but to anyone. I'm like, maybe he needs to live a little bit more like in the world as a grown up. I mean, maybe it would work. Again, I think he seems like a very nice, loving person.
Right. And there's assumptions I'm making, but like, I think we've all kind of met the person who runs like the youth,
basketball
league in the hometown. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of leaving the hometown. You're kind of king of that mountain.
Right.
Like, if kids come to your tryouts, you're in charge of who plays. Right. Like, it's all.
But that's the thing. Like, Virginia might be a little too worldly for him. Like, clearly Brittany, like, when she said that she had dated a woman, that was like immediately like too much for him.
Right.
Like, I think that like, you're right. He has this kind of insular worldview, but also like he's dating someone who's a little older, who has a little more experience, who has a little more opinions. Like he might need to catch up.
It seems as though it would take her to like make that decision, not him. Like, I think he's like kind of comfortable.
Yeah, I think he's down.
Yeah, I think he's down. He's kind of comfortable.
I feel like he's caught a great person, which he has.
Yeah. So we move on to Ben and Sarah. Ben and Sarah.
You had a lot of thoughts on meeting of the sister and the sister's girlfriend.
So Ben and Sarah, like, they're a pretty good looking couple.
Yes.
They kind of look like they would go together. He kind of has hinted at religion is what he's made it. And
he goes to church every Sunday, though.
Goes to church every Sunday, but has this like, he seems pliable.
He doesn't like to call it religion. He calls it faith.
Faith.
Yes.
Right. And I think he's been a good soldier. If I'm to be honest, I think like we had the whole thing with the TikTok video the woman posted, okay? Sarah seems to take the side of ranting woman on TikTok over the guy she has met.
Well, Sarah also knows she's being filmed and like and she doesn't know what it's going to be like when it's released. So just like the guys don't want to come off as like the bad guys, I do think after meeting her sister's girlfriend, I think there's an element of that's who she really is like a feminist fighter, but also I think there is a knowledge of like if this comes out and he's done something horrible to this woman and I just believed him, like what will people think of me?
I know, and that's kind of like the annoying part of that conversation is like if he's lying, he's straight up lying. Like he has said to her.
And she does the right thing by asking for more details.
Right. No. She should absolutely. Right. Hey, and it was so scripted. It was so producer made, but I think
I came across this video.
Right. I think the producers were making a thing of this season of like having on video or having on tape like these arguments that may have come up. So they're like, so she's
because of their video from last time.
Maybe because I have critiqued them on TikTok.
Yes.
So she goes, I see this video, and he has a ready explanation. He goes, we went on one date. It seemed as though it went the direction of texting on weekends.
Never hooked up.
Never hooked up. Maybe they kissed, but he says they never were. Like
never had sex.
Never had sex, it seems. Based on the way he answers. So when he gives that answer, it's like, okay, like I have to like buy what they're selling because it's like, and I do understand, like she's like worried about what people will think of her. Like I have to be a girl's girl and I gotta like, but the woman in the video, and we've watched it, she uses a lot of like buzzy words, but no
concrete examples.
No examples. Yeah. No concrete.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, I am scared of critiquing whatever she's saying in the event of something she says comes out and he did something horrific. Like that is a scary thing to be for anyone talking about it publicly. And I could see why Sarah is like trying to not be that person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. But I do think that we're fearing kind of a Dave's sister type of boogeyman,
right?
Because the idea that okay, let's say it does. Let's play that out. We find out that Ben was actually a monster.
Slept with all of her friends and then ghosted her.
Total monster. Everything he said was
told her he was going to marry her and then backed out of the proposal.
All that stuff. And then we would go, oh, I guess he lied to all of us.
Right.
You know, like
we can only go on what he's saying.
Right.
You're right.
And also they have a lived-in experience together. They've gotten to know each other over this time. Like I just wouldn't want to be living with someone who I gave my truth to,
right,
and then just sat there like, I don't know if I can look at you the same
way. And he can't
way.
do what he would probably want to do since he's on camera and be like, that girl seems like she might be troubled.
Right.
Like she had issues. I really don't think I did anything. I think that she's like.
Right. Everyone's being a little kind to everyone, and it's actually hurting this relationship and this talk.
Right. Without saying that, then you're like, well, why would this person want to come up with this vengeful video where they're calling you out? Like, what would be her motive?
Right. I would
question that. I would have a million questions. Right. I would have a million questions. There's nothing wrong with a million questions.
Rightfully so. Hey, she said you harmed her.
Right.
How would she believe you harmed her? And I don't know. We met up at a bar and I bought her a drink and then we kissed and then I didn't call her.
I didn't answer her DMs. Maybe I should have.
Right.
It was whatever it was.
But we take this discussion where Sarah's like just not believing her fiance, seemingly like has a vibe of not believing it, and then they go to this dinner with her sister and her sister's partner. And what did you think of this dinner?
The sister's partner came in hot. It seemed like they came in with the mindset of they didn't want to like him.
Not at all.
They came in with their own preconceived idea. They weren't into, I don't think they were into the show. I don't think they were. And again, healthy amount of skepticism is good. If my sister came to me and she was like, I'm going to get married to this guy in 2 weeks and I've known him 10 days.
Right.
And we were on this reality show, I would be skeptical too. Right.
I'm with you 1,000%. It also felt like they were told like 3 things about him.
Right. He goes to church every Sunday.
And there was a TikTok made from a trembling woman.
Right. If I got that and those 3 informational things, and I knew again she's only known him for 10 days, she's going to marry him in 2 weeks.
Right.
There's a certain level of it where I'm like, I get it. They did it in a way that felt icky to me.
It was horrible. I mean, like to me, I watched him become a Trump voter. Like this was the making of an enemy.
Right.
Because he came in hat in hand. He seemed very kind.
Willing to learn, telling, saying whatever they wanted to hear.
Saying the right things, quote unquote. Like he was in line with the company policy, and then they just hammer him. Like they're like, you're privileged. Like, the way they even spoke, the tone of it. Like, and listen, I'm not here to like, review a woman's tone, but if he spoke to them that way, it wouldn't. And I think that's an even playing field. Like, if he, just to accuse him that he could never understand, they cut him at the knees. He could never understand. His privilege doesn't let him understand what they're going through. And he's like, and he basically is saying like, I'm willing to like support you without knowing what you've gone through.
Right.
And then when they're asked to do the same thing for Sarah and Ben, when she's like, could you support? She literally says to her, I've never dated someone that way, so I could never support you. It's like.
Right. You just asked them to do the thing that you're refusing to give them.
Right.
Yeah.
And if I'm looking at this guy, it's a no-win. So why would I even give a fuck?
Right. And Sarah doesn't really seem to be like trying to protect him here.
No, she's trying to get a vibe from her sisters, which
she wants
understand.
the approval.
She wants the approval.
Right.
She wants them to like come to these conclusions on their own. She wants them to love them.
Right.
I do think, I don't know if Sarah could have done much.
Right.
Like,
that's
even
fair.
Even her sister. The sister doesn't really do much.
And she does say that she knows him and she loves him. And like, I guess she does say that. Yeah.
Like he goes away and they're just like,
who the fuck is this guy?
Right. And it's like, are you guys like, you're asking for all of this like care and see our side, and they don't even give an inch of seeing their side as a different couple. Like, because they met in the pods. I'm not saying meeting in the pods and being of the LGBTQ community is the same, but this is a different
unconventional.
It's an unconventional romance. So when you're put face to face with seeing the other side of an unconventional romance, you're as hateful as the people you hate.
Yeah. I think that there's something there about probably being gay in the Midwest.
Sure.
As two women that probably makes you're kind of like ready to be attacked at any moment. And so you're coming at every situation like ready to defend yourself, ready to like take down anyone who messes with you and trying to sniff out if someone has like a disapproval in you. It's probably as a self-protective mechanism.
Yeah, I can understand.
Not that that makes it okay. I do think they were quite unpleasant. But
They should make that merch and wear it around.
what?
One woman wear quite and the other one wear
Unpleasant.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Thing
I
one
can
and
understand.
thing two.
I can understand why they're coming in hot, like
Yeah.
ready to
No,
like, you know.
I have empathy for that.
But-
I agree with that. It's just my eyes. I was like, what?
Yeah. No, that was tough to watch.
So our last couple. Oh, so now we go to like the others.
Others, yes.
So the others are the people that came to the party, and we get kind of updates on them.
Mm-hmm.
So we start with Meg and Mason, who
walking holding hands.
walk in holding hands. If we go back in the Wayback Machine, Meg was the like hyper perky, you know.
We're all getting married,
We're
guys.
all getting
Yeah.
married. Everyone's a princess. And Mason literally described her as his number 2. No one has ever given more number 2 energy than Meg.
Right.
And Mason just like spelled it out.
She'll eat it up though. She'll take it.
And Meg and Mason, they show up. He reached out to Meg after she chose to end things, and they decided to keep hanging out and take things slow. What do you think of Meg and Mason?
I think Mason saw her on Instagram, wanted to sleep with her, and reached. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell. You haven't really seen much of them together, but I'm happy for them. It seems like, again, he was like gonna go with her at the end, and then it's funny that she was like no at the end, but then immediately after like went back.
Right. I think Mason kind of got, you know, he gets outed as like surface level dude, guy who's there to hook up. Guy who was like,
I think they'll have a fling. Maybe it'll turn into something more because she also seems a little surface.
Yeah, Mason was who Madison thought he was.
Yes.
And I think that's like kind of the rub of him getting back with Meg, like
right
in the way they did. Like
and you can tell that Madison is annoyed that they're
right. Well, I think Madison is annoyed that she's right about everything and this didn't fix her problem. Because she tells the story, I guess Madison talks to Lauren about the aftermath of the Alex breakup.
right.
And there's things that happen.
Okay, so after they break up, Madison says Alex reaches out immediately to her and says, "Oh my fucking God," is his reaction to seeing how she looks.
Right, which is her fear. I mean, she says it in the pause. She's like, men see how I look. And
Is it her fear or is she also kind of like it?
I don't know. I don't know if she's doing much.
No one doesn't want that when someone
Right.
sees you to say that.
Right.
Whether
but-
that's the only thing you want or not.
I know, but it was like something that came up in the pause where she was just like, I get treated a certain way, then men get me, and then they can't deal with me. And she's that hot that Alex is like, already knows what he'd have to deal with, and he's like,
I could do it.
oh my fucking God, I don't give a shit. Like, that is like, it's almost like Madison's cursed,
Right.
you know? Because like...
But she doesn't want him now that he wants her.
Right. And that's the whole rub. Like, so this was the whole reason in the beginning we did these like reviews of the pods. I kept writing next to Madison's name, run. Because I think she's counting this as therapy as opposed to like going to actual therapy.
Right. I mean, I'm intrigued by her. I think
How
that
could you not
she's
be? Look
right.
at her.
Yeah. She's got her pink hair now.
She is unbelievably
She's like a
gorgeous.
vixen
It
is how I would.
scary to me.
Why don't you GM her?
I would no. I'm gonna no.
No?
I live in fear.
Terrified? Is she like that? Is she terrified she would like take all your money and impregnate
It's not
herself
even-
and run?
To me, anything could happen.
Okay.
You know,
How exciting.
Right. Anything except a long lasting, comfortable marriage.
Right.
It seems is on the table. And I don't mean that to be mean. I know that sounds mean. Like, I'm not saying she's unmarriable, but it's like,
What makes you think that about her?
I just think the way she came into it, where she's like holding on to the guy who likes her, that she's basically making her number 2. Not saying it like Mason does, but she makes Mason.
She's
her
smarter
number.
than that.
She holds on to Mason while chasing Alex, doesn't get what she wants, and then kind of vilifies Alex when he ends it and vilifies Mason when she ends it with him.
Right.
Like everyone's a villain except for her after she's done with them. And the way she treated the women in the house, in the pods. She seemed to put her feelings ahead of everyone else. She tells Meg before Meg can have a chance to have her own story. She's just... And it's always the Madison Show. Like, that's what scares me, because you go, and it always lands in the land of like kind of untouchable subjects. I disassociate. I have all these issues. So-and-so passed, and this person had drug issues, and I've been on my own since 18. It's all like, I look at that and I go, and everyone's evil?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just didn't get that read on her.
I had that. I live in fear of Madison every day.
But I think she didn't look great when she came back, because she says, okay, so basically then Alex tells her to meet him at the airport so that he can at least give her a hug.
Which is crazy.
Okay.
That's how hot she is. I just got to touch you.
Can I have a lock of your hair to take home? So they meet at the airport. He just keeps telling her how beautiful she is and asks her to stay in LA with him.
Okay.
What's happened to Alex? Mr. Rational.
That's why Love is blind.
He's ready to be bullied again.
Right. He was willing to throw away everything. She's Medusa. He turned into the stone. It's
seriously. And then so he says that Meg messaged him before even knowing if Madison and Alex ended up engaged, and told him that he was always her number one over Mason, which that seems like weird if true. We never even see them talk.
Right. Meg messaged Alex before even knowing if Madison and Alex. Yeah, it is bizarre. And
she says Alex is a liar. And then she says Mason's actions are an ick to her.
Yeah. Mason's actions were an ick to her the whole pods.
Right.
So that's
but she doesn't like that someone else likes him, that he likes someone else.
Again, it's all the Madison Show. And I you know what? I'm very upset we missed out on the Madison Show.
Yeah. I would have liked to have seen them.
My biggest regret of this season is that we didn't get to see how she was going to play out, because I think...
Right. I would have liked to have seen Alex under her spell.
Absolutely.
Would he have totally changed his whole tune?
And would she not like him?
Right.
Like, would she get with him? They go there and he's obsessed all of a sudden. He goes from playing it cool and being logical to like, I'm goo-goo-eyed.
Right. Yeah.
And then she's
under
like,
the spell.
What am I doing with this guy? And then she's got to somehow, and I would like to see if she made him like the bad guy for being goo-goo-eyed.
Well, she made him the bad guy off camera.
Yeah.
Right?
For wanting, well, it is a little weird.
I'd like to hear
only hearing one side of the story.
Yeah, we didn't get his. I wonder why we didn't get his take. Maybe we'll get it at the reunion.
Yeah, I mean, for her to say like he wanted to hug me at the airport, like
right, making him seem like a creep.
Not a great way to be talked about.
He just asked if I could see him for 1 second at the airport until he came, and then I could leave.
The fact that she doesn't say it like it's crazy makes her a little crazy. That's what men do for her. Like, yeah, he came to the airport and we just hugged, and he smelled me. We'll be back for the weddings.
Any predictions? Who do you think gets married?
I think the Golden Retrievers, Joey and Monica.
Yes.
I think
Taylor and Daniel. Better after that Christmas card.
They have to.
I think those are the only two locks. And then I think Ben and Sarah and Devin and Virginia, I think I'd give... What percent chance would you give them?
Devin and Virginia, I have it a 60% chance. Ben and Sarah, yes. Okay. 60% chance of marriage. Ben and Sarah, I have it a 30% chance.
30?
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know. She goes to church with him. She tries to like...
She ain't going to church again.
I'd give them also a 60.
So you give Ben and Sarah 60% chance of marriage. What do you think of Devin and Virginia?
I give them 50.
50? Why less?
I just think like it's one of those ones that could be like a surprise, because they're not like fighting, but they do seem to have a lot of differences.
I just think it's more because she runs the show and he kind of is okay with having his show run.
Right.
So that's why...
You think he's going to sign the prenup?
I think he's just going to go, yeah. Whatever.
After he reviews it with his legal team, and his pastor.
Right. Once the whole team gets together, yeah. So, no, we'll see. This is why this show is an exciting buildup. That's why this show is fun. It's like we're getting the payoffs we wanted. So.
Yes. All right. We did it. We'll be back with the weddings.
Boom.
Bye. Kate McAuliffe is our senior producer. Our editor is Emily Freed. Candace Maniga is our senior social producer. Our associate producer is Will Maxwell. Additional production help from Shannon Jimenez Sasson. Be sure to follow us at u.up.podcast and send us your emails to uup@betches.com.